All right, now time to look at this particular most important portion over here, which is the transform portion of the home ribbon. Okay, let's look into it. Now, this transform portion consists of splitting the column, grouping the column, and then there are certain other elements that you can perform over here, right? These are the three basic, functionalities which it is performing. Let me look at splitting the column. As the name suggests, it helps us split a certain columns. For example, I think among the entire set of rows over here, I think the first thing that I'm going to start from is using something called as before I move on to splitting the column or group by, I'll use something called as use first row as headers. So what happens is at times Power BI realizes that the first row over here, which you can see in your data right now, the first row, as you can see, is not exactly the data. All of these are film names, these are film genres, these are film studios, these are audience scores. The first row over here seems to be something which should be a header. And Power BI probably, in the Excel from which the data is taken, the user of the Excel have kept the first row empty and started using the second row onwards as data. In that case, Power BI captured this as data rather than the headers. Okay, so Power BI realizes that, okay, the query editor realizes that such kind of mistakes are quite common, so we should give users an option to rectify this. Okay, and how can we rectify that? Very simple. We can simply say that in case you believe that the first row over here, should actually be the header of the column. As we can see over here, film, this is genre, this is lead studio. We can easily see that audience score is this, profitability is this. We can always say that, always click on this particular element over here, which is called as use first row as headers. Now, two things will happen once I do this. Number one, this will become the header. Number two, the data type of this column is going to change. See what is happening over here. Everything is very, very logical. Okay. Now, if you look at it, this particular column right now is giving you ABC 123. If you can just focus over there, it is writing ABC 123, which means that right now, as per what I'm reading, I'm the Power Query editor. What am I reading over here? I'm reading a textual entry and numerical entry both in this particular column. So I'm saying that this column consists of a mixture of text and numbers. Now, right, that's the point. So that is why the data type is slightly complicated, ABC123. I think that ABC123 will be there with every column over here. Reason, every column is having its header as one of the data points. ABC column, ABC column. Now, the moment I change this, the moment I make the first row as header, the rest of the data points will remain numerical, and hence Power BI, so the query editor will automatically change the data type of the column to numeric. See, if I click on this, use first row as headers. Now the first row are header, and now this particular column automatically changes to 123 from ABC 123. Now 123 would mean that this is nothing but a numerical score over here. Of course, the rest of the data points are numbers, and hence now this is a numerical numerical column over here. This is the most useful one if the data is not that sorted. I think a lot of cases are started by using that thing, that is first row as headers. By the way, you can demote the headers as well. This is called as promoted the headers. As you can see, you clicked on use first row as header. Two changes came up over here. One is you promoted the headers and you change the type. Change the type, data type happened automatically, but it still has basically recorded this as a separate step. Okay. Now, if I just click on this, I can demote the headers as well by doing the vice versa. That is, use headers as the first row, vice versa. That is, whatever is there in the header, it's actually data. So I want to keep it down. If I just do this, used headers as the first row, the headers will come down and they will be counted data. The data type changes again. You can keep on doing that, right? But I think let's do it and let's keep it as it is. Now, all those steps are accounted over here as I've done it multiple number of times. It has come multiple number of times over here. For the rest of them, you can actually ignore that, right? Now, if I look at split column, if I click on this particular part, it splits a column. As the name suggests, it splits the column. It splits the column in multiple ways. It uses a delimiter. Delimiter is nothing but a symbol or symbol, number, text, whatever you want to call it. Giving, see, you tell Power BI that split using this. Okay. Now, if I click on delimiter, it gives me a lot of option over here. Now, first I need to select a column to split. And I don't see a lot of columns over here which are worth splitting except the film name over here. Right. So, I'll just click on this and I'll say that let me split this by delimiter. And the first delimiter, which generally is the most common delimiter which we use, is nothing but space. Now, Power BI it's a business intelligence tool, guys, okay? So, it will not, along with the instructions that you're giving to Power BI, it's also reading your data. Now, it says that there's no comma over here, there's no dot over here. The only thing that I can see is the first and the most important one is space. So, it has already given the option that, shall I split it with space? I said, that's what I wanted. But how can I split it? Leftmost delimiter over here. Leftmost delimiter would mean something like this. See, I'll just go to this. Leftmost delimiter means that you start from left. You start from here, and the first leftmost space that you get, which is over here. Can you just see this? Just after 27, you split the column from here. For this particular row, the leftmost delimiter will come over here. For this row, the leftmost delimiter will come after the word A, and so on like this, isn't it? So, if I just click on the leftmost delimiter, it's going to split the column like this. Let's click on OK. And it splits the column. Can you just see now? Can you just see that it is splitting the column like that? Right? So, 27500A, the first occurrence of a space moving from left is what is being done over here. Now, if I just undo this step, in fact, now I'll have to undo two steps because of the splitting, the data type might have changed. Okay, so I'll just click on this and I'll click on this. I'll get back to the original data. This is the beauty about Power Query Editor. If you make a mistake, you can always undo it. Control Z, I repeat, will not work. Now, if I keep on exploring other options in split, right, we can go for rightmost delimiter. The same thing will happen from right. And each occurrence of the delimiter would mean that each occurrence of a space, here we have selected delimiter as space, each occurrence of a space, it's going to split the entire column, right? It's going to basically identify each and every space and it's going to split the column like this. So, the point is, it splits the entire column in many columns because the name of the film might be very long. For example, Love and Other Drugs would be split into Love and Other Drugs. Whereas a film which has a smaller name like 27 Dresses got split into only two portions, 27 and Dresses. Rest of the columns is basically giving me null. As you can see that, you know, it split the entire column, oh my god, into 7 parts. So 7 words, there was a movie with 7 words and hence it gave you 7 or rather 8 words, it gave you, 7 words, it gives you 7 splits over there, right? I'll change that. I undo it, I come back to the original data, okay, and the original data is over here, right? Now, cool. So, this is what split column can do. It can also, you know, you can select the delimiter. For example, it need not to be space, it can be colon, it can be comma, it can be an equal sign, it can be a semicolon, it can be a tab as well, and you can even give me a custom. Custom would be you have to enter the symbol over here. For example, if I want to split the column using parenthesis, so if I give first parenthesis over here, this 500 part, if I just click on OK, right, let me click on OK right now. As you can see, the parenthesis one, this is the only one with parenthesis and hence got split like this, okay. Let me undo this, undo, come back to the original data. Right, and then let me go to split column again. Delimiter, is there anything left to be discussed in the delimiter? Of course not. Everything is discussed. Let's not worry about this quote character and everything. I don't think I have ever used it. You can probably keep it quote or you can keep it none. Right, I think it's fine. Even if you put it none, it's okay. I'll just click on this and come out of it. Now, split column not only can be done by a delimiter. Delimiter means a symbol or a number or anything with the help of which you are splitting the column. You can split the column with the number of characters. You click on this number of characters. Obviously, Power BI is going to ask for how many characters. Now, I'll say that, right, I'll say that, let's say 5 characters. I'll say that only as far left as possible, only as far right as possible. So I did not explore these options much, but I think these are very self-explanatory, right? You can keep on, repeatedly would obviously mean that keep on splitting after 5 characters repeatedly. 5, the next 5, the next 5, the next 5, right? So if I do that, it's going to do this. 5 characters followed by 5 characters followed by 5 characters, right? Now, it doesn't make sense to me in this particular data. It might make sense for some data analyst, for some other data. It depends upon, you never know what kind of data you come across, okay? So, don't mock anything which is there in Power BI, okay? Now, if I click on split column again, we can click on by position. You know, if I click on position, it's going to ask for certain things, right? What position you're talking about? I'll say that 9th position. So if I go for 9th position, it's going to split the column from 9th position, 9th character. So for example, this is right now, oops. And in that case, I think here it has removed the rest of the, it's basically trimmed out the rest of the portion over here, right? For example, 27 dresses, 27 space dresses, tak is done. The only part left is S over here. So I think the rest of the portion of split column is very self-explanatory, but by lowercase to uppercase, wherever there is a lowercase to uppercase, you can, you know, split it up. Where uppercase to lowercase, you can split it up. Digit to non-digit, non-digit to digit, never explored this, but whenever it moves from digit to non-digit, for example, if I click on this, right, from a digit to non-digit, all the digits are taken care of. Now, none of them are having a digit, so they are as it is. Digit to non-digit, this is digit and this is non-digit. So in case you want to separate out digit from a certain particular row, you can do that. And vice versa, if you want to separate out, well, a text from and remove the rest of the digits, you can do that as well. So this is what is called as splitting the column. Splitting the column, and the function which is just beside that is called as grouping the group by. Group by is group by is basically pivoting. It's aggregating the data, right? I think if you're aware of aggregation, we have discussed this already, right? If I click on group by, okay, if I click on group by, you're actually grouping the data. You're actually summarizing the data. Take it as summarizing the data, okay? It's aggregating the data. What do you want to group? There's no point grouping the film, because if I have, let's say, 700 different entries over here, all those 700 entries will have different film name. Even if you group it, the data will remain as it is, isn't it? Grouping should happen when there are common elements in a group. Can I say this? There are common elements in a group. For example, genre. A genre might be comedy. Many comedy movies might be there, isn't it? Genre might be horror. There might be many horror movies over here, and so on like this. So I'll say that please group it by genre. Let's see how many genres are there. And what do I want to do? I want to, let's say, find out how many, count rows. Let me count rows. How many horror movies are, how many number of movies are there for each and every case over here. I'm so sorry for this. Let me pause the recording.